Hello, 6th graders. Welcome to Big Ideas Math, Contract Math, Section 1.3, Subtracting Integers lesson. Pause while you write Section 1.3 lesson in your math notebook. Pause again while you write today's lesson objective in your math notebook. Today's lesson objective is to find the difference of two or more integers. Today we'll be working on pages 16 and 17 in our textbook, so please find those pages and follow along. Let's start at the top of page 16. Let's look at the key idea, subtracting integers. To subtract an integer, you add its opposite. So the example they give us is 3 minus 4 equals 3 plus negative 4, and that equals negative 1. Please take a moment to write the example and show it with a number line in your notebook. So take a couple of minutes and draw out this example in your notebook. Now that you've had a second to do that, let's look at example 1, subtracting integers. Find 3 minus 12. 3 minus 12 equals 3 plus a negative 12. So when we think of it that way, we're adding the opposite of 12. So we want to write it just how the book did, which is we keep the first integer the same, so it's a 3, and we change the sign to an addition sign because we're now adding, and we change the sign of the second integer to its opposite. So it used to be a positive 12, now it's a negative 12. So when we are adding a negative 12, we end up with negative 9. 3 plus negative 12 equals negative 9. Let's do this again with letter B. Find negative 8 minus negative 13. So we're adding the opposite of negative 13. So we keep the first integer the same, so it's negative 8. We change the subtraction to addition, and then we're changing the negative 13 to a positive 13. So it's negative 8 plus 13, so that equals a positive 5. So this is just like lesson 1.2 where we were adding integers. So even though this is the subtracting integers lesson, it's just like adding integers because all you do is add the opposite. So we're going to tackle letter C now. We are finding 5 minus negative 4. So we keep the first integer the same. We change the sign to a positive, and we take the opposite of negative 4. So the opposite of negative 4 is positive 4, which is just a 4. So 5 plus 4 equals 9. Let's move on to example 2. We are still subtracting integers, so we're still going to use the same rule. We just have one more number. So it says evaluate negative 7 minus negative 12 minus 14. So we're just going to take this two numbers at a time. We are going to add the opposite of negative 12, so I'm going to write this off to the side for you. So we are going to keep the same first integer, negative 7. We are going to add the opposite of negative 12, so adding the opposite would be adding a positive 12. So negative 7 plus 12 equals 5. And then now 5 is the first integer, and we are going to add the opposite of a positive 14. So that would be a negative 14. So when we do that, we end up with a negative 9. So our answer is negative 9. Now let's scoot down to our real-life application. And it says, which continent has the greater range of elevation? So remember, range is the maximum minus the minimum, or the highest minus the lowest elevation in this case. So when we're looking at North America and Africa and comparing those two, we have the highest elevation in North America is 6,198 meters, and the lowest elevation is negative 86 meters, and in Africa the highest is 5,895 meters, and the lowest is negative 155 meters. And so it reviews for you what the range is, which we've already talked about, and so we're going to go ahead and subtract those. So the range for North America is 6,198 minus negative 86. So when you subtract the opposite, it's the same as adding, and so you end up with a range of 6,284 meters is the range for North America. And for Africa, when you subtract the opposite, you end up with a range of 6,050 meters. So because 6,284 is greater than 6,050, North America has the greater range of elevations. So there is your answer for that. Please complete the On Your Own problems 1 through 13 on pages 16 and 17 of your textbook or your online textbook. They are also shown below. Show your work in your notebook and submit your answers in Google Classroom. Please be prepared to show your work during our next class. And as always, if there's something you don't understand, please be prepared with questions for me. Please remember to earn credit for viewing this flipped lesson. You need to complete your exit slip back at the website. You also need to come to our next class prepared with the journal pages that we did during the flipped lesson or any other work that we did for the flipped lesson completed. You also need to be prepared with any work that was assigned in the flipped lesson completed, and be ready with any questions you have for your teacher, and as always, have a good attitude. We'll see you tomorrow in class. Remember to earn credit for viewing this flipped lesson. You must complete your exit slip. You must come to our next class prepared with your journal pages or any other work that we did during the flipped lesson completed, and you need to be prepared with any work that was assigned during the flipped lesson completed. Be prepared with any questions you have about the content of the flipped lesson and a good attitude. We'll see you in class tomorrow.